It's a city that's hosted all sorts of parties.
But it's never seen anything like this.
We're really excited, and we cannot wait to showcase Milwaukee to the world.
50,000 people are coming to town.
That's a great bump to the economy, obviously.
Those who aren't coming will be watching.
We have a chance to showcase Milwaukee.
History will be made.
We have an opportunity, all of us do, to help Milwaukee to shine.
And we're making sure you're ready.
This is Conventional Wisdom. Welcome to Conventional Wisdom, the only podcast guaranteed to not be around for long. But I am willing to bet that it's going to have a longer shelf life than that beard you have on your face.
Wow, you're hacking it right away. This is my tribute to Abraham Lincoln, the winner of the 1860 Republican National Convention in Chicago. But he wasn't even there. He didn't attend.
You're going to need to give it a little bit longer.
A little bit longer, and I don't have it. We're excited today for our guest. Peggy Williams-Smith is the CEO and president of Visit Milwaukee, and she may fight me on this, but it's fair to say that without her actions, the RNC is not coming to Milwaukee this summer.
I think that's fair to say. Yeah, it is her job to sell Milwaukee to the world, and perhaps the biggest pitch came in landing this summer's Republican National Convention in July. But the job certainly is not done at this point. There's still some lingering doubt and maybe even a little concern about an event that will put Milwaukee in the international spotlight, which is why we're here and we're calling the episode of Conventional Wisdom today, What's in It for Me?
It's a logical question that a lot of people are asking. Let's get right to our guest, Peggy Williams-Smith.
Let me start with this. You're paid to promote the city. That's the job of Visit Milwaukee. But you're homegrown. So this has got to be pretty personal to you, too.
It is. I mean, I am homegrown, born and raised. This is my second convention, even though the first one didn't actualize the way we had all hoped it would back in 2020. So I'm very excited for what we're about to experience in July.
Excuse the metaphor here, but can we start with how Milwaukee started hunting the quote-unquote elephant? Didn't the elephant make it known to the city of Milwaukee that it wanted to be here for 2024?
I love that comparison. So they sent out an RFP in September of 2021.
Help us out. RFP.
Oh, sorry.
You're speaking in your
request for proposal.
Okay.
They sent it to us and to the then mayor, Tom Barrett. And at the time, having gone through the DNC in every meeting that I was with any elected official, they said we'd be doing the same thing if this was the RNC. This is a good move for the city. It's a way for us to put ourselves on a national or international spotlight. So when we got it, I called the mayor. I said, do you want to put in for this? He said yes. And we went from there. And then when Mayor Johnson took over, I said to him, are you still, is this something you're interested in? He said, I'm all in. Anything that's going to help us highlight the city and showcase what we have to offer as a major metropolitan area, I would love to do it. So I know you said it was me, but it was a lot of people who put in a lot of time and effort knowing what the rewards will be.
But it first came through you, right? If you press click delete, we're not talking today.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, I'm not trying to give you more credit than you deserve, and I appreciate your being humble about it. Mm-hmm. But you could have said, no, we don't want that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, anytime you look at what we lost, and there was a lot of conversation that happened in 2020 about all of the things that we lost because we didn't get to host the convention. And we are a city on the rise. We're different than we were. People want to bust out of the stereotype of Happy Days in Laverne and Shirley. And this was going to be a way to help do that. And we missed that opportunity due to no one's fault except for COVID. And this was a perfect opportunity to capture what we missed in 2020.
We got left at the altar and we quickly got back in.
Exactly.
No, that's the best.
There was no missing it this time.
Yeah, exactly.
Visit Milwaukee. I mean, you guys lobby all the time to have conventions here, but this is the convention. Talk to me about how much work has gone in over the last year and a half or so.
The convention is just one part of what has happened over the last year and a half. I mean, we've had over nearly 50 people have moved into our city to execute this convention. These are people who have become a fabric of our community. They're doing community projects. They're out eating in our restaurants, buying retail, seeing shows. They are doing what every Milwaukeean does. They've fallen in love. They've had babies. There's been engagements. They may stay here after the RNC is over. So I look at this beyond just the 5 days of the convention. This is a way for us to introduce the city to people who may not have ever been here before.
And how often are you checking in with them, both professionally and personally, these 50 people? And I know a few, you had a walkthrough recently for the media and how everything is going to go down, or hopefully will go down. How often are you in contact with saying, hey, troubleshooting, is it a daily basis? Is it a weekly basis?
Well, I have a spectacular team, and my team is, at least some of us are in contact on a daily basis with someone from both the host committee and the committee on arrangements, which is the political side that will run the convention. So we see them pretty often. We host some happy hours to make sure that we get to know each other, know that they can lean on us. They plan the political side. What's going on in those four walls, I have nothing to do with. This is about what I would do for any convention, making sure that they have the tools they need from the city to do their job, that they know the resources that are available to them, not just from us, from the city, everywhere throughout. They talk to the city on a regular basis, the county, they talk to emergency responders. It's amazing. I had a meeting yesterday with someone from the COA, and she had been in contact with every branch of our city government. So it's, there's a lot of people who are making them feel welcome.
The infrastructure that they bring with them is pretty sound.
It is.
Okay.
Visit Milwaukee just went through a huge rebrand for the city. It hasn't happened since 2005. Was this in the plan, in the works before the RNC was landed, or was this kind of part of the whole bigger picture?
Well, I'd like you to think that I'm really strategic and it's all been planned since the day I started at Visit Milwaukee, but I think a lot of it did just fall into place. When I was going through the interview process in late 2019 to take this job, there were talks, there were people who were working, who were instrumental in making sure that we were going to get a convention center expansion. And in the talks where I was interviewing for the position with the search committee, they often said, what are you going to do to showcase if we get this expansion? What are you going to bring to Milwaukee that really highlights how amazing Milwaukee is and the beautiful expansion? Well, having 15,000 journalists 2 months after the expansion opens on May 16th is going to be a pretty good way to showcase the investment that the state and the city have made in the tourism business.
Talk to us about that. What specifically is going to be happening on that day or those days? You mentioned the journalists coming to town in May 16th.
No, sorry. Oh. So the journalists coming to town are for the RNC.
Right. Okay.
That is the week of July 15th.
Oh, okay.
The May 16th, which is 3 months. I'm very bad at math. May 16th is the grand opening of the Baird Center, a $456 million expansion, doubles the size of our exhibit space, opens us up to a whole new, different customer base that we have never seen before.
We were missing out on conventions because of the size of our convention center.
We absolutely were. So if you looked at our peer comp set, those cities that were most like us in terms of the way the city was built, hotel package, we were 20th out of 21st in terms of convention center size. We will jump to 10 with the expansion.
We, of course, know that the DNC is going to be held just down the road from us a little bit later in the summer in Chicago. In terms of accessibility that our city has going for it, do you think that that was kind of part of the bigger picture for the RNC coming here, just because how accessible it is? I mean, Chicago's got all the traffic, right? We don't necessarily have that, at least not to their degree.
I think all of that played into it. I think the playbook we had, I think the fact that my team put together an amazing bid book. You can still talk to some of the leadership with the RNC and they're like, yeah, we're still reading the 254-page bid book you put together, which was a lot bigger than anyone else's. So, I definitely think that having worked up till March of 2020 worked in our favor to get the bid for 2024.
What was your selling point? How did you sell this city?
Well, again, it was a group effort. I mean, we had people from a lot of our board was very involved and a lot of the city leaders were incredibly involved. But when we look back at February of 2022, when we brought the search committee here, the site selection committee to Milwaukee, we had the fire chief, the police chief, the mayor, the county executive. We had Paul Bartolotta, who did an amazing job of showcasing what it would feel like to have the convention in Milwaukee and what people would walk away with. And I can't overstate how important those people were to the process. When we went out to Salt Lake City, we brought with us city leaders who talked about what this would be like. Ted Kellner came, and that was before he was involved in the host committee. Don Smiley came. We had leaders from every area of the city who said, we will make sure this is the best convention you've ever had.
The title of this episode is What's in It for Me? So kind of let's talk about that. I know that $200 million economic bump has been thrown out there. I know there was a recent New York Times article that tried to slash that, but you're still feeling confident that that's kind of where we're going to stand in terms of this whole thing.
I mean, again, it's not just about that week. Think about it. We hosted the first GOP debate last summer. That brought in hotel rooms. That brought in people from all over the country. It brought in 500 journalists from all over the world, international journalists. We've hosted events leading up to this that have all created economic impact for the city. Do you think that President Biden would have been here as much if we weren't hosting the RNC? Every time he comes, that's economic impact to our city. So there's all of these things, people moving into our city, people paying rent, paying taxes, eating in our restaurants. All of those things contribute to the economic impact that we're going to see. We won't see it all in Milwaukee because we see a bigger footprint here. We're going to Madison, we're going down to Racine and Kenosha, we're going out to Lake Geneva. So there'll be people all over southeastern Wisconsin. So this is really economic impact for the state.
And that's in terms of the hotels and all of that,
Correct.
right? Just to house how many people are expected here, 50,000 people.
Correct, yes. And we have, over 100 hotels that will accommodate those 50,000 people.
50,000 people came to the 1860 convention in Chicago. It was so crowded, they were sleeping on billiard tables. Just kind of
Hopefully we don't have that.
kind of nerd fact thrown out for you.
I may be
Peggy's
sleeping
like,
on a billiard
please.
table.
Right.
I may
So-
be sleeping on a billiard
Maybe
table.
under.
Yes.
As you know, this wasn't universally supported. There were some Common Council members who grumbled about it, which gets us into what we call the buy-in, which I don't have to do as a journalist. She doesn't have to do as a journalist. In your role, you sort of have to. How do you get people who are skeptical of this convention for political reasons to say, this is a good thing? Put whatever feelings you may have politically aside. This is a good thing.
Well, this is part of the political process, and it has been, as you talked of, for how long? Since at least Abraham Lincoln in 1860, right?
This was episode 1 of Conventional Wisdom.
There you go.
Yes,
See?
where we talked about the history of
We did.
conventions.
But
yes.
I do think that we have to remember that this is going to happen somewhere. And why not take advantage of having it happen here? After the debate, I was at the debate, I went home, and then I watched the debate, and I watched how they showcased our city on TV and how amazing that was. And after that, we got a bump in leads, in convention leads to our office, because people often, I'm sure you hear it, I hear it all the time. Oh, I didn't realize how great Milwaukee was. I didn't realize you had this beautiful lakefront. I didn't realize you had a beach. I didn't realize you had a 75-acre festival grounds. All of the things we hear on a regular basis, I want that to stop. I want them to say, I came here because I saw that you were amazing and I wanted to experience it for ourselves. And I think this is an opportunity to do that. The other thing I like to say is that, there has been opposition, and I've been told specifically from specific owners that there's opposition. I don't know about you. I don't know when the last time you walked into a restaurant or a store or a theater and someone said to you, before you come in, what's your political affiliation?
Right.
That I've never been asked that question. And there's going to be people here who aren't affiliated with the Republican Party. There's going to be people here who are, but you're not going to know. And we don't ask any other time. Why would we ask now?
But is that a message you're saying to the service industry? Hey, just what you just said. People are here, they're spending money, they're going to go talk about this city. Put on your best face.
And I think, we do talk about that on a regular basis, and we do put on our best face. I mean, we would not have won the bid if the people that our site selection committee encountered during that process didn't feel welcomed. And during the debate, they felt welcomed. Afterwards, I went the next night, they had a party because they were announcing their 2028 location, which is Houston, and Houston threw the party. So I went, and everyone was like, I just can't believe how nice everyone was. Because in some places you get a different side of the city during the site tour that's completely different when you come in person.
Right.
And they were like, you were exactly like you were in the site So, and that's not me, that's the city. The city was exactly as warm and welcoming as they were on the site tour.
I can attest to that being from Philly. When I showed up here 10 years ago, everyone's much nicer here. So I think that's a good thing. You know, we just had this walkthrough with the media, there was a lot of members that were here. There were a lot of people from other organizations that were here. We know lobbyists are going to be coming to town. What sort of feedback did you get from people who were kind of seeing the lay of the land without the huge security perimeter and without the mass amounts of people, but getting to kind of see it through their own lens?
You know, I think they were excited. I know that Claire from my team, our VP of Comms and Advocacy, has regular conversations with the journalists. She leads a comms group that gets together on a monthly basis, along with the city, the MMAC, the host committee, to talk specifically about stories that they can pitch when journalists are here. And she was hearing from journalists how welcome they felt, how great this walkthrough was. It was amazing, how excited they are for the convention. So far, so good.
Stephanie mentioned I loved your elephant metaphor before. Northwestern Mutual brings in 11,000 people every summer, right?
Between 11 and 14, yes.
But fairly quietly, right? I mean,
they used to be the Quiet Company,
right?
remember?
The Quiet Company, that was their nickname, right? Good memory. And we don't really seem to notice them. And I think that's a good thing. They bring, maybe that's one of the reasons they want to do it. It's not that big.
You may not notice them, but we do.
Okay, that's my question. This is 5 times that, right?
It is. But remember,
will we notice it? Yeah. But I guess my question is, will the average person who's not involved in covering the convention or serving or being in business with vendors, whatever, will they notice that there's this convention in town?
Yes. 100% they will.
Okay.
Just think, Harley Davidson.
Right.
You notice when Harley Davidson is in town. You hear
also,
the
they're
roar.
on motorcycles.
You hear the roar of the motorcycles. You're going to hear the roar of motorcades. You're going to hear the roar of buses getting people in and out of downtown. You will definitely know. I will tell you, when NM comes in town, which is our longest standing annual conference, the investment that NM makes here in the city is just amazing. And our hospitality and retail community and arts and culture, they know it. They know when NM is in town. It's probably not a big media event as maybe some other conventions are, but they definitely know. And we're seeing more conventions who want media attention, who ask us to send out press alerts so that the city knows what they're doing in the city, because there is usually a charitable aspect to a lot of big conventions that come into town.
I know last summer there was the vendor fair where all different small businesses could come, kind of pitch themselves, have their own booths, showcase what they offer, and the different host committees could come through and kind of see, who they wanted to partner with. For businesses who either maybe just started within the last year or just haven't had a chance to take advantage of the potential of opportunity out there, is there opportunity for people to kind of still jump on, or are we getting a little too close?
Ooh, well, that is a perfect segue. So the RNC COA, the Committee on Arrangements, just announced Convention Fest, which will take place during the 4 days of the convention, so Monday through Thursday. There's a portal that's open right now that you can register to be a part of Convention Fest. They're looking for food vendors, beverage vendors, retail vendors, experience vendors, people who want to be able to maybe sell something to the people who are going to be within the perimeter, showcasing Milwaukee and Wisconsin to them. So that's open right now.
Where would people go for that?
That's a really good question. I did not memorize it, and I should have.
Will it be on your website?
Yes, you can certainly go to our website, and we'll have a link over there. So it's www.visitmilwaukee.org.
Okay, and we'll also try to get one on FOX6 now.com. Back to the criticism, and I don't mean to keep going back to this, but I brought it up with the mayor. You know where I'm going with
Sure
this.
do.
Remember when the All-Star game was here and things didn't go so smoothly?
I was absolutely here.
Yeah,
I was working at the Hilton. That's the headquarter hotel. I remember it like it was yesterday.
And Sports Illustrated wrote a scathing article saying they should hold a plumbing convention, plumbing fixture convention, and that's about it. I don't know if that did any damage short-term or long-term. How do we make sure that doesn't happen again? Is that what keeps you up at night? Because so many people are coming, and if things don't go well and there is criticism, that's going to be a hard thing to bounce back from.
Okay, so there's a couple different facets there, right? So think about what Milwaukee looked like 23 years ago. It looked completely different. I mean, if you look at the west side of the river, I was at the Hilton in 2002. I remember hosting the All-Star game. I think portion of it was the only All-Star game to end in a tie. That also may have had something to do with the huge issues that we saw. Milwaukee's a different place than it was in 2002. But with that being said, the world is a different place, and there is going to be criticisms no matter what. My team tells me not to go on social media because I take everything personally. There, of course, is going to be...
Your team is right, by the way.
I know.
As someone who's taken a few hits
But that's
on social
advice for
media.
all of us.
Yeah,
Right, it is. But there's of course going to be criticism. But I think that the positives of what we have seen in the last 23 years since that All-Star game far outweigh anything that they could have said back then. That is not what they're going to see now. They're going to be staring from the hotels at a $456 million beautiful Baird Center with a rooftop terrace, like Fiserv Forum, Deer District. None of that was here in 2002. That is all new. There has been significant investments in our city, and this is what I want to showcase and show off.
You took that article personally, didn't you, a little bit?
Yes, in 2002.
As you
I
should.
absolutely did. I mean, I still remember the meeting planner I dealt with, Melissa Brophy from Major League Baseball. They had a blast. They loved this city. They absolutely loved this city. So, it's like Stephen A. Smith. You can take him or leave him.
It's just one person's opinion, right? At the end of the day. What are you most excited about for those 4 days? Or are you very anxious and can't wait till that Friday happens?
So my peers that I've spoken to who've hosted either the DNC or the RNC. So obviously I spoke with Philadelphia, which you're from, a lot leading up to the DNC. I met with the person who ran that convention. I spoke to my peer who's now in San Diego. And I also spoke with the guy who was going to host the RNC in Charlotte in 2020 as well. Now I've spoken with Dave Gilbert, who ran the Cleveland RNC. And what they've all told me is that the feeling you will get if you walk downtown on the streets the Sunday before the major arrival, you're going to feel an electricity in this city. This is something that you only host once every 4 years. It's been 8 years right now. This is an incredible opportunity to play a part in the political process. And I'm so excited that Milwaukee gets to be a part of that.
Where will you be that week? Is it your job to put out fires that week, or do you just sit back and cross your fingers?
She's going to be in the attic at Fiserv Forum.
Or just hiding. Don't call me.
I will not be there. I think I'll be out. I'll be welcoming guests. I'll be making sure that volunteers are being taken care of, making sure that our city is showcasing itself well. I'll leave the interviews up to the mayor and the county executive and all of those important people who can showcase all of the great things that our city is doing, while I'm making sure that our hospitality community does what it does best, and that's welcome guests.
You mentioned something about volunteers. And if people are listening to this and they're like, you know what? I want to be part of this, maybe for a day, maybe for the entire thing. But there's an opportunity for people to get involved if they want to, and you need them.
Absolutely. We're looking for volunteers. If you sign up on the volunteer portal, you don't need to volunteer 4 days in a row, 8 hours a day. You can sign up. There's going to be shifts. There's going to be more information coming out once they realize more what they need as we get closer to the convention. But you can go to MKE2024host.org, and there's a volunteer portal that you can sign up on. They're still looking for volunteers.
And I can speak to the run through that we just had recently for the media. There were volunteers there, and they were really key. We're going down this way. The Baird Center's this way. It was the day of the eclipse, remember? And,
right.
You have your glasses, and you could already sense that the volunteers were excited to be a part of this.
They are. And we have volunteers. We have a strong volunteer corps that works all the time for Visit Milwaukee. We just ended Volunteer Appreciation Month, and we will add to those volunteers, and hopefully a lot of them will stay on to welcome conventions in the future as well.
We're going to let you have the last word. I have one more question. Do you have another question?
No, but I know you have a heart out, and I know you're a busy woman. So
let me ask this. We're having a moment right now, Milwaukee. Top Chef, you mentioned Paul Bartolotta, the great Paul Bartolotta. Top Chef is portraying the city marvelously. I'm sure you've been watching. This leading into the RNC, this is a good time to be selling Milwaukee.
It is a good time to be. As my husband says, I came in at a lucky moment. I'm like, oh, you mean besides the whole COVID thing, right? Yeah, it is a great time. We have the most diverse set of elected leaders who are collaborative, who talk to each other, who want the best for our city. I've never seen the city in a place that is so amazing as I do right now. And I'm so fortunate that I get to be one of the people who's out there selling it. I leave tomorrow to go to LA to do a trade show with my fellow tourism professionals from all over the world. We'll have international group tour coordinators and a bunch of media there where we'll be able to talk about how great Milwaukee is there as well.
Is there anything we haven't asked you about the convention that you want people to know?
You know, not about the convention, because I get asked about that a lot.
Okay.
But there's so much more than that that's happening this summer, and we can't lose sight of that. When the RNC checks out on Friday, Northwestern Mutual checks in on Saturday. When they check out on Wednesday, Harley Davidson checks in on Thursday. In between there, we're the city of festivals. We have hundreds of festivals that are taking place everywhere in the city throughout the entire summer. And at the end of August, we're hosting an industry conference called Connect, which we're bringing 1,000 meeting planners to the Baird Center so that they can do a real live site tour of Milwaukee and hopefully bring their conventions here as well.
Good timing for opening up the brand new portion of the Baird Center. It's going to be
is.
a beautiful thing. There's a lot in it for you for those who are listening, hence the title of today's Conventional Wisdom podcast, What's in It for You? Peggy Williams-Smith, CEO and president of Visit Milwaukee. The rebrand has been great for you guys. We're excited to welcome all these people to the city, you being front and center of all of it. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening and watching to this episode of Conventional Wisdom. We're back soon with another episode. Until then.